Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube and Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channels. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. Of course, here on Pro Wrestling Logic, we discuss old school and new school wrestling. This is the SmackDown review for the 8th of April, 2022. They recap WrestleMania 38 from last weekend. Cole and McCaffrey know that Roman Reigns would appear later tonight to announce his next plans. Ronda Rousey comes out and basically says fans pop when there is a challenge to an I Quit match. Kayla Braxton is already in the ring to start SmackDown. Waste no time in introducing the wonder that is Ronda Rousey. Braxton noted that Rousey keeps her word and made Charlotte Flair tap out. The fans break into a brief Ronda chant. They recapped Rousey forcing Flair to tap out, Flair pinning Rousey at WrestleMania. Rousey points out that she did make her tap, but admits she didn't win the match. Braxton mentions that Reigns reveals next move later. Braxton then also asked Rousey what her next plans are. Rousey didn't hesitate and demanded a return match with Flair. WrestleMania Backlash. This time it's an I Quit match. Fans are happy with that. Flair then appeared on the big screen mocking Ronda Rousey. Felt that Rousey's armbar and still beat her. Flair then turns down Rousey's challenge, tells her to go back in to the back of the line. Rousey then promised Flair that she'd fight and see what happens. She vowed that Flair is not just going to say I quit, she's going to scream it. They recap Ridge Holland and Sheamus defeating New Day at WrestleMania. Xavier Woods with Kofi Kingston defeats Butch with Sheamus and Ridge Holland 8:32. Butch and Woods have a decent enough match, nothing to really write home about. In the back, Sheamus and Holland pump Butch up before he goes to the ring. Before the match, Kingston is praising Sheamus and Holland for getting their first win at WrestleMania. Also, Kingston said he won in 2019, and they both won. Woods then points out that WrestleMania is the season finale, therefore tonight, season premiere. New Day claimed that all records start over, so they have the clean record now. Butch then has an early advantage. They're stealing from AEW, by the way. Butch has a clear advantage. Woods then fights back. Holland and Sheamus give Butch some advice. Woods then misses out on a splash in the corner. Butch takes him over. He then works over Woods' arm, but Woods fights back. Woods then catches Butch with a side rush and a leg sweep, and then hits a basement drop kick. Butch and Woods end up fighting back at ringside. Butch then regains control when he gives Woods a suplex on the apron back from the break. Butch is in control. He slows the pace down and worked over Woods' arm. Butch then follows up with a forearm for near fall. Woods then fights back with chops and punches. He rocks Butch with a kick to the face. Butch stomps on the fingers of his opponent and stomped on Woods' head and then Butch avoids it. Woods uses a small package to get the win. Doesn't need to be 8.5 minutes after the match. Butch attacked Sheamus and Holland. Sheamus and Holland tried to talk Butch, who sat in a corner. Cole compared his reaction to a temper tantrum and called him a child at the end. This is just stupid. They recap Johnny Knoxville defeating Sami Zayn in Anything Goes match at WrestleMania 38. Zayn is furious with Adam Pearce. He said he wanted an Anything Goes match, and not everyone is welcome match. He said he had a plate of cheese because he was caught in a mousetrap. Zayn said he hates cheese, and the fans boo. Who can hate cheese? Zayn then wants to get his request back, so he promises to take next person that walks through the door. Drew McIntyre walks through and has a smile. Zayn then tries to get out of the match. Pearce makes it official for later in the night. Pearce then receives a letter that told his assistant he couldn't meet Ronda. Then we go to Marcel Bartel, debuted as Ludwig Kaiser, and introduced the Ring General Gunther. Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser defeat Joe Amazo 204. Gunther looked good in his debut on SmackDown. Gunther then attacks Alonzo at the bell beats him down with chops and a big boot. He slams him in the power bomb to win. Fans break into a Walter chant. In the back, Kayla Braxton interviews another new member of the SmackDown roster, Raquel Rodriguez, formerly known as Gonzalez. She changes shows and she changes last names. She admits that SmackDown is one of the best locker rooms, but they're not ready for her. Los Lotharios approached Rodriguez and offered to welcome her with a kiss. She turns them down and wondered if they were always that annoying. Braxton nods at this. Speaking of annoying, happy talk. Moss and Corbin split up as a team. By the end of the segment, fans love Moss and give him a babyface reaction. Well, at least they're trying something new. They recap Madcap Moss winning the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, McIntyre defeating Corbin at WrestleMania. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss make their way to the ring for happy talk. Corbin is sad, but Moss is in a great mood, obviously. Corbin notes that tonight Happy Talk should be a celebration. He blames the loss on to McIntyre on Moss. He points out that Moss should have jumped on the apron. Fans then break into a loud Madcap Moss chant. Corbin said that's his problem, and he wants Moss to tell him jokes. Moss then said he told 2 bad jokes, but Corbin didn't laugh. Corbin demanded that Moss tell him a good joke and that his job depends on it. Moss then told a joke about Corbin and said Corbin dresses like he's going to a funeral for some random guy. Moss laughs. The fans pop for this. Moss and Corbin brawl around ringside after Corbin attacks him. In the back, Jinder Mahal and Shanky speaking with Adam Pearce. Mahal demands a match for the Intercontinental Champion Ricochet. Pearce claims that it wasn't that easy to get that type of a match. Rousey then walked into the office, and Mahal and Shanky leave. She demands an answer to her challenge. Earlier, Pearce said she should have an answer sometime tomorrow. Rousey didn't like that particular response. Drew McIntyre defeats Sami Zayn, 3 minutes 39 seconds. McIntyre and Zayn have a weak match. Zayn jumps out of the ring at the bell. He gets back in the ring, jumps out again. McIntyre goes after Zayn and drops him on the barricade. Zayn then fights back with a boot to the face. McIntyre recovers with a belly-to-belly suplex and a chop. McIntyre then slams Zayn's head into the announce table and drops him on the table. McIntyre then throws Zayn back into the ring, but then rolls the other side. McIntyre waits for Zayn in the ring, but he walks away. McIntyre chases him, sets him up for the Claymore kick back in the ring, but Zayn jumps out of the ring again. They basically runs away from everything. McCaffrey admits he's feeling a lot of different emotions. He said he's still sore after his match and hungover, but being at Mania was a dream come true. Story of Lacey Evans. Michael Cole introduces the story of Lacey Evans. Evans discusses her life as in a backstage segment. Evans notes that she was born in a small town in Georgia. Her father worked construction, but also struggled with addiction. Her mother tried her best, but she couldn't handle the mental and emotional abuse. Before Evans started elementary school, her mother packed stuff in a garbage bag and left her father. They moved around for several years, living in shelters. Experience taught Evans never give up, and it made her the woman she is today. Fans pop and give a good reaction at the end. They announced Cody Rhodes versus The Miz Monday on Raw. Wow, Cody's back, and he's already fighting The Miz. Good gosh. Anyway, they recap Sasha Banks and Naomi defeating Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley on Raw. Morgan and Ripley get another shot on Monday night. Who actually cares? Liv Morgan defeats Sasha Banks with Naomi, 7 minutes, 7 seconds. They have a good enough match, better half in the second half. In the back, Megan wonders why Morgan's on SmackDown since they have a title shot on Monday on Raw. And she's there to defeat Banks tonight and get momentum for the Raw match, one would suppose. Naomi joins Cole and McCaffrey on commentary. Cole then notes that Banks and Naomi make history by becoming the first black women's tag team champions. Morgan has an early advantage, but Banks fights back She sent Morgan out to the floor, and then they go to an early commercial break. Back from the break, Banks hits Three Amigos, follows up with a frog splash for a close near fall. They showed Shayna Baszler and Natalya watching in the back. Morgan and Banks tried pin attempts. Banks then rocks Morgan with a kick to the head. Fans applaud this. Banks and Morgan misses a splash in the corner, bounces back, and rocks Banks with another knee. Banks and Morgan then fights on the top rope. They finishing coming off with Morgan and hits a suplex. Morgan and Banks both go for the pin. Morgan gets the win, and then they hit the Dynamite Kid Randy Savage superplex finish. Then they recap the Usos and Nakamura and Boogs from WrestleMania. Cole and McCaffrey discuss Boogs' knee injury. Then Roman Reigns comes out to end SmackDown, and it kind of falls flat. Doesn't really reveal anything. They recap Reigns and Lesnar. Heyman hands Reigns the mic and demands that they acknowledge him. Reigns says he's done it all and there's nothing left for him to do. Points out the Usos only have one title. He ordered the Usos to go to Raw and unify the tag titles. They agreed. Reigns then notes that he's going to have all the gold. Suddenly, Nakamura's music hits. Reigns then is annoyed and confused that Nakamura interrupted him. Fans sing his music. Reigns cuts him off. Knows that Nakamura feels because he lost his partner Boogs. Reigns then understands because they lost Jimmy to a knee injury. He notes that the bloodline is all about love. Reigns then gives a confused Nakamura a hug, which allows the Usos to hit a double super kick. This is pretty weak looking. Reigns and the Usos celebrate, promising to make a trip to Detroit for Raw. And they pose with the titles to end SmackDown. And honestly, who cares about this abysmal show? Post-Mania, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.